Alright, so I have 3 steps to getting beautiful sparkly eyes. Step 1, increasing the saturation. Oh, you know what? Alright, so this is the picture we're going to be working in as we achieve beautiful sparkly eyes. And she already has very beautiful eyes as it is, so this is going to make our job that much easier. So I'm going to start by duplicating my background layer by hitting Command J. And this is the layer that we want to be working in so that we can have a nice before and after to look at. And then I'm going to hit J and select my spot healing brush tool. And I'm just going to clean up a couple of these veins in her eye just to kind of whiten them up a bit. So I'm alt-clicking in the white space, and then I'm just very carefully drawing over top of this blood vessel. And if your subject's eyes are particularly pink, you can always as well choose a nice light color, like take your eyedropper tool, pick your color, and then like boost it up a bit. And then using brush and maybe like, I don't know, 20, no, let's go 10% opacity and just brighten up a bit of the eye. Maybe not necessarily all the way into the corner, but just kind of right around the iris. And then we'll do a similar thing over on this side, just a couple little spots here I want to touch up. Using the spot healing brush tool. And then same idea, I'll use the same color, just a little brush of white, just right around the iris. Okay, so you can see our before and after so far. Makes it a little cleaner, a little prettier. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the saturation. So I'm going to make the color of her eyes brighter. So I'll head into my adjustments panel, I'll hit vibrance, and then in the properties panel I'm going to increase the vibrance up to probably like 50, 60, let's do like 50. And then the saturation I'm just going to boost up like 2, and that's it. Now choosing my layers mask over here, making sure it's selected, I'll hit Command I to invert the layer mask, hiding the adjustment. And then selecting my white brush by hitting B, I'm going to slowly bring that color back. So the nice soft brush, opacity, let's go for like 80, and then we can always turn it down. And I'm just going to brush all around her eye, and maybe even a couple times we could probably hit up 100% opacity. Take it over to the opposite eye and brush it in. Okay, pulling back and taking a look at what that looks like so far. A nice subtle increase, and I mean if you wanted to even boost up even more, hit the layer adjustment one more time and let's take it up maybe to 60. Get really crazy. Okay. Ooh, that's nice. She's got a great color. She's got great colors in her eyes. So now the next thing I want to do is a little bit of dodging and burning. So selecting our duplicated layer one more time, I'm going to head over into my I'm going to head over into my dodging tool, zooming back in nice and tight. And I want to dodge the inner iris, so just the area kind of surrounding her pupil. I've got my exposure set to 50 here. I'm pretty happy with that. So taking it just a little ways outward from the pupil on both sides. Same idea on the opposite side. And I mean, don't be too like perfect, right? Because sometimes we've got lighter and darker kind of random spots in our irises. So you can have a couple spots, maybe like a touch brighter than the rest, just to add some interest. And then now hitting my burn tool, keep the same 50% exposure, and we're just going to draw a ring on the outside of the iris. Both sides. And don't worry about getting this adjustment on the actual eyelid, because we'll clean it up at the end. Alright, so now we're looking quite fantastic. Now my last adjustment here, now the last thing I want to do is do a sharpening of the eye. Now the next thing I want to do is sharpen the iris. So I'm going to duplicate the same duplicated layer and head up into Filter and then down into Other and head into High Pass. So this is going to give our eyes a really sharp, just slightly contrasty pizzazz. So this is going to give our eye a little bit of a boost of sharpness and contrast. So I'm going to go about 10% for my radius, and then change the layer blending mode of this high pass layer. I'm thinking soft light. Yeah. Could also do overlay depending on how intense you want it to be, but I'm thinking soft light is going to be perfect for this particular photo. So we'll zoom. So we'll take the opacity of the layer all the way down and then cycle it in bit by bit. I'm going to leave it about 65% and then add my layer mask to the high pass layer by clicking this little guy down below. And just like before, we're going to invert the layer mask. So select the layer mask and then hit Command I. And this is again going to hide the adjustment completely. And then we're going to brush it back in with a 100% opacity white brush. And just do a quick once over. And that's just going to add more gloss, more shine, more sharpness to her eye. And so let's also add a layer mask to our duplicated layer, our background layer. And we're just going to hit our black color, 100% opacity, add a little bit more hardness to your brush. And then just brush away any of the adjustment that you may or may not have gotten on the eyelid. Alright, so that looks pretty cool. Obviously a little fake, so we're going to decrease a little bit of what we've done so far on our duplicated background layer. So I'm going to start it all the way down at 0 and then bring it in until I feel like it looks natural. So somewhere around 40, and then I think I want to bring the vibrance down a touch to about 50. Okay, so let's group all of these adjustment layers together to give you an example of the before and after. So this is after, and these are before. It's a little flat. So this definitely adds a boost of color and just shininess and overall sparkliness. And now, for bonus points, if you wanted to get cray-cray, you could zoom in and actually replicate the reflections in the eye. So I'm going to take another background layer, and I'm going to use my cloning tool by hitting S, and then make a nice, small, slightly hard brush, and I'll hit Alt to take a copy of the reflection I want to take. And then making sure I've got about 80 to 100, let's go 80. As far as my opacity goes, I'm going to open my brush up just a bit. And I'm just going to take that reflection and add the same one below it. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this piece right here, this little reflection, this little sliver of light. And duplicate it just down the side here a couple times, just to kind of get a little bit more happening within the eye as far as reflections go. And you can get pretty creative here if you like. I'm just going to add a couple more little features. You can take, light orbs if you've got a portrait shot of someone indoors in the evening and they've got like actual light reflections in their eyes. You can copy those and add some more. So pulling that back a bit, let's take a look at the before and after. So you can't even really tell. So let's group these adjustments together and take a look at the before and after. So here's the before, it's a little dull, a little flat, and here's the after, and here is the after, a little more shiny and sparkly. And then you can carry on with your normal editing. And then carry on with editing as normal. I'll flatten this image and I will select one of my pre-made actions, let it run its thing, and let's flatten this again and take a final before and after. So I'll copy what I've done so far with the action and with the eye additions, the eye enhancement, and with the eye enhancements. So here is the before, and here's the after. I think that's it. I think we're good.